everyone. This is Deepak Krishna VM, ME Structural Engineering AMI. Welcome to an academy. So today, another lesson in the factors affecting the workability of concrete. Okay. So in today's lesson, we are going to see how the admixtures affects the workability of concrete. All right. We are going to see in detail what are the admixtures that affects the workability and how it is affected. Okay. But before that, please subscribe to the YouTube channel of the Academy and also follow us through the app and the website. So let's start. Hello everyone, good to see you. Hope you're having a great day. So we are back yet again with another lesson in the factors affecting the workability of the concrete series. So we have seen a lot of factors that affects the workability of the concrete, like the cement content, water content, how the mixed proportions, how the water cement ratio, how the aggregates affects the concrete. But all those factors doesn't even matter when compared to the factor we are going to discuss today. Okay, so let's see what we are going to see today in the factors affecting the workability of concrete. But before that, we'll have a small recap. We'll have definitions of the workability of concrete. So you might wonder why in each and every one of the lessons I'm recapping the definitions, and also why am I searching into that IS 456 quote or statement about the workability of concrete. Well guys, the workability of concrete is one of those questions that you can expect anywhere, anytime in your student's life, or maybe in your interviews also. Okay, this can be act as a question just to derail you. You know, after a series of very tough questions, a very basic question, you might wonder what to answer. All right, it happens. Okay, when you face an interview board, especially. So you must be thorough with the concept first. All right. So and also workability is not just a property that cannot be pinpointed at once. It has a lot of relativity with all other properties, like flowability, like the dexterity, like the easiness in the placement, that is the transportability, a lot of stuffs. Okay, so let's see what the definitions are without wasting any time today. So according to ASTM C 12593, the property of determining the effort required to manipulate a freshly mixed quantity of concrete with minimum loss of homogeneity. Okay, that's what they said. That is, it's a property that determining the effort, that how much effort is required to change or to alter the freshly mixed quantity of concrete. Okay, with the minimum loss of homogeneity, that is without much losing of the mixed proportion. Okay, all right, or without much loss of the proportions of the ingredients of the concrete. All right, so next we have another definition right here, that is ACI 116R90. It states that it is a property of freshly mixed concrete which determines the ease and homogeneity with which it can be mixed, placed, consolidated and finished. Okay, that's one of the definitions that we are more familiar with, I suppose, because it directly states about the easiness, the homogeneity, mixing, placing, consolidation and finishing. Okay, so I hope you understand both what definitions are. Now let's move on to the quote about workability in the IS 456 page 70. Okay, it quotes that the concrete mix proportion should be chosen such that the concrete is of adequate workability for the placing conditions of the concrete and can be properly compacted by the means available. Okay, this quote itself shows that how important the workability for a freshly prepared concrete is. So one has to choose the ingredients and the proportions based on the workability that it can be easily placed and can be properly compacted with the means available in that vicinity. Okay, so that's all for it. So I hope you understand what the significance of workability is. Now let's move on to today's lesson, that is the effect of admixtures in the workability of concrete. Alright, so admixtures plays a key role in the workability in modern day constructions. Alright, so in the modern day constructions or modern day philosophy of sustainable development, hugely influenced by the admixtures introduction to the construction world, so that we can save a lot of natural products like river sand and water. Okay, now let's see what are the admixtures and how it affects the workability of concrete. Alright, so let's start. Let's start from the admixture itself. Okay, so the most significant factor in the modern day construction industry, as I said before, this is one of those influencing factor in most of the modern day construction, whether it is a domestic, whether it is a small one, or whether it is a large construction, maybe substructure, superstructure, whatever it is, admixtures play a key role in the concrete when it is in its plastic state. All right, and also when it is in its setting state, and also when it moves through the hardening state. All right. So what are admixtures? All right. So admixtures are materials that are used as an ingredient of concrete, and it is added to the batch immediately before or during the mixing for the specific purposes, like altering the properties of concrete in accordance to our need. Okay. So these are materials that are added during the mixing or before the mixing, or maybe after the mixing sometimes. Okay. For some purposes, all right, for fulfilling some significant purposes that depends upon our need. So those purposes are like the altering the properties of the concrete in accordance to our need or the design. Okay, so I hope you understand what admixtures are. These are chemicals actually. Okay, so not all admixtures are just used to improve the workability of the concrete. Okay, so these are very general term about what admixtures means. So admixtures, there are a lot of type of admixtures available in the market for different purposes. There are different admixtures available. Okay, please understand that. Okay, admixture does not only does the workability job. It can be done for the setting time, initial setting time of the cement, to accelerate the setting time, to decelerate the setting time, to prevent the corrosion. A lot of purposes are there. Okay, and in some of the admixtures, the workability factor comes as a byproduct. Okay, so but today we are going to see some of the significant admixtures that are used for the workability purposes. All right, so some of the admixtures that are used are plasticizers, super plasticizers, air entraining agents, and others and some of the natural pozzolanants. Okay, now plasticizers and super plasticizers improves the workability at many levels. All right, so these are some of the commonly used chemicals in the construction industry. So they play a huge role in the workability altering purpose. All right, and also air entraining agents and fine glassy pozzolanic materials to improve the workability. All right, we'll see one by one what they are in detail. Right now. Please understand that, as I said before, there are a lot of other admixtures available, that is, such as accelerators and retarders. So these are also some kind of admixtures that is used primarily for the workability and also for water retention. Okay, now let's see what they are. First and foremost, we'll start with the plasticizer itself. Okay, I'm sorry, what are the plasticizers. Okay, plasticizers. So these are chemicals. Okay, it's a kind of chemical that are added to the wet concrete to impart adequate workability properties. All right, so workability is one of the important factors in the construction industry for the cement in its plastic state. So to alter that, the chemicals that mainly used are plasticizers, and if the construction is too heavy, okay, or sometimes the concrete that we used are more modern type, like special concretes. Okay, so there we use the super plasticizers. Okay, so in the plasticizers, so if somebody asks what is plasticizer, we can say that these are kind of admixtures that are added to the wet concrete. Right, that means the concrete that are in its mixed state to impart the adequate workability properties. Please note down this sentence. Okay, it clearly shows what plasticizers are. Okay, so plasticizers are often added with other cementitious products like pozzolanic ash is added. Alright, that means when other cementitious products like pozzolanic ash, like fly ash and all other things, sometimes there is a chance of reduction in the workability. Okay, if there's a huge amount of replacement is required, maybe a double replacement is required. Okay, of products is required, the ingredients are required. So we need some extra backing up for the workability cases. So here the plasticizers play a crucial role in that. Okay, so how does this work? So plasticizers affect based on the principle of deflocculation and dispersion of cement particles. Alright, so what does that mean? So when the plasticizers are added, okay, so this will be water soluble most probably. So when the plasticizers are added, they get absorbed in the cement particles. Okay, so these absorbed cement particles these absorbed charged polymers. Okay, so when they are in the moist state, they become the charged polymers. All right, that means they will be in that ionic state. Okay, not in the atomic state, in the ionic state. All right, that means like C plus. You know that. Okay, like the ions, right? Ca2 plus, something like that. Okay, so these charged polymers on the particles, on the cement particles, will create a particle repulsive force. Okay, which overcomes the attractive nature of the particles. Okay, so those particles are always attractive in nature, so they create a force that is so huge that it overcomes those attractive forces. Okay, so the result will be deflocation and the dispersion, deflocculation and the dispersion of the cement particles. Pardon me, I don't know what happened there. So in this condition, the inner particles friction is reduced. Okay, the interparticle friction will be reduced, and hence the particles will move very smoothly and swiftly. This results in the increased workability of the concrete particles or the particles. All right. Now let's move on to the superplasticizers. These are called as high-range water reducers. Okay, so they generally produce a homogeneous and cohesive concrete without the tendency of segregation and bleeding. That means the concrete will be very much workable, but they don't go for segregation and bleeding. Okay, so the basic properties or the basic principle of superplasticizers is as same as the plasticizer only, but they are more powerful dispersing agents. All right, so by the addition of superplasticizers, they made possible for the modern day special concrete, like high performance concrete, by high strength concrete, etc. Right. So they also made possible that we can do the mixing or design purposes by reducing the water cement ratio to a very low amount. Okay, like 0.25. All right. So these chemicals create such wonders. So they impart a very high amount of workability to the concrete. All right. Now we have supplementary cementation materials, that is, hope you remember the pozzolanic fly ash that I said before. So these are some of the other materials that are used to improve the concrete. That is, we have fly ash, we have fibers, we have silica fume, and we have the cement, slag cement. Alright. See, using the fly ash can improve the workability only to a certain extent, so it requires the backing of other plasticized materials. Alright. By using our fibers can actually decrease the workability of the concrete, a lubricating effect. The silica fume can alter the workability depending upon the quantity it is used. All right. Now, and also it can improve the workability when reduced in a very low rate, when it is replaced in a low rate. But if it is replaced in a very high amount, the workability will be less. All right. It's like in the inverse proportion. All right. So slag cement also improves the workability, but it affects depends upon the characteristics of the concrete mix while it is used. All right, which it is used. It depends upon the characteristics of the concrete is used. All right. So I hope you understand that. So that's all for today. Thank you for tuning in. Please comment your suggestions. Please rate my presentation and also recommend and share the slides. Okay. And this is my link to the profile to the Unacademy platform. You can copy this in your browser. I can see the work I've done based on the ingredients of the concrete, like fine aggregate and coarse aggregate. I've done the test. I've explained that basic test also over there. So that's all for today. Thank you for tuning in. I wish you a great day. Cheer and all the best for your exams.